Good morning. Today or this week is Joseph Smith History 1 verses 1 through 26. And I'm going to be breaking those up into like 4 verses throughout the week, I think. And just to start off with, I absolutely loved reading it last night. Loved it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't know. I loved it. I loved it. I don't know what it was, but I loved it. And, it says that he had a limited education and, he could barely read and write, but it was so beautiful. I don't know. It was like, it was so beautiful. I can't even, it was like reading a letter or a journal, and it was just beautiful. I loved it. Anyways, so the reason it's written is because he's like, listen, everybody's got these opinions about me. Everybody's got these lies. So I'm going to give you the facts as I have them, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Let's see. Owing to the many reports which have been put in circulation by evil-disposed and designing persons in relation to the rise and progress of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, all of which have been designed by the authors thereof to militate against its character as a church and its progress in the world, I have been induced to write this history, to disabuse the public mind and put all inquirers after truth in possession of the facts, as they have transpired in relation both to myself and the Church, so far as I have such facts in my possession. So he says, anybody who's looking for the truth, I'm going to write it so far as I have it. And so he goes on. And we all know the story of the first vision. If you don't know it, what you doing? I mean, it's kinda, it's not the cornerstone, but it's kinda important, anyways. So we all know it, and I'm gonna go through it verse by verse this week, but there was one. Okay, so in it he's talking about the religious upheaval, and excuse me, he's talking about the religious upheaval in his section of the world, and how the religious sects are fighting over converts, and how they're like, oh, we love everybody, and then once they join the church, they're like, you're wrong, just blah blah blah. Where does it say? Okay, so, well, we'll get into it, but, in verse 10, it says, in the midst of this war of words and tumult of opinions, sound familiar? I often said to myself, what is to be done? Who of all these parties are right, or are they all wrong together? If any one of them be right, which is it, and how shall I know it? Reading about the upheaval and the fighting and the segregation and his confusion over it, it reminded me of today. Everything reminded me of today, of course. And how it's the Presbyterians say this, and the Methodists say this, and what are the other ones? The Baptists. We know about the Baptists. They say this, and they're all fighting one with another, and they say that this one's wrong, and, there are these different sides that have these very strong opinions about how things are supposed to be, and he's like, who's right? There's a war of words, and a tumult of opinions. And in reading this, I was like, that is what's happening today. It's not, well, it kind of is a religious war of words where some people say there is no religion, it's science. Science is the only thing that can be trusted. And others are saying, no, there are other ways. But there is this war of words going on. And he's confused, and I know that some of us might be confused. And he's saying, what is to be done? What are we supposed to do? You know, and sometimes we feel like that. What is to be done? I don't believe that some things that are happening right now are that big a deal, but they say I have to do this. What is to be done? I feel this way very strongly, and the world feels this way very strongly. What is to be done? How am I supposed to know what is right? So what does he do? He goes to the scriptures. And he reads in James, we all know, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally. And of course his prayer is answered. Was there anything else? There was something else. Okay, so that's kind of where my thoughts were last night with that scripture. Then going on. Oh, I loved this part. Okay, I loved this part. In verse 20, it's after the vision, and it says that Christ had forbade him to join any of the sects, and that many other things did he say unto me, which I cannot write at this time. When I came to myself again, I found myself lying on my back, looking up into heaven. When the light had departed, I had no strength, but soon recovering in some degree, I went home. And as I leaned up to the fireplace, Mother inquired what the matter was. I replied, never mind, all is well, I am well enough off. I then said to my mother, I have learned for myself that Presbyterianism is not true. It seems as though the adversary was aware, at a very early period of my life, that I was destined to prove a disturber and an annoyer of his kingdom. Else why should the powers of darkness combine against me? Why the opposition and persecution that arose against me almost in my infancy? Did you catch it? Did you catch the most awesome thing that anybody has ever said? I mean, besides Captain Moroni dropping the mic in the Book of Mormon, he says, I was destined to prove a disturber and an annoyer of his kingdom. I don't know why I love that so much, but I do. You know, it says, why the opposition and persecution that arose against me? Why should the powers of darkness combine against me? I feel like this should be my new credo or something like that. To be a disturber and an annoyer of Satan's kingdom. That is what I should live for. You know, you kind of feel like we watched a thing from Elder Holland last night before bed, and just he has this awesome spirit. I know you all know, but he has this awesome spirit and this fire and this drive and this determination and this hard line, you know, and he is bold and he's not afraid to declare it, which we all love about him. I think, you know, he is a disturber and an annoyer to Satan's kingdom, and I feel like that's something that I should start to be striving for, to be a disturber and an annoyer. And that does not mean to be loud and boisterous and to annoy those who don't have the light of Christ with them. It means to thwart his plans for my life. Satan has plans for me. Satan has plans for you. You know, he's got plans for this whole world. And I don't want to be a part of those plans. I need to do what I need to do to disturb those plans. Anyways, I loved it. Loved that so much. So then for my supplemental study, I'm not sure how it's going to happen this week because I have a few books, but they basically take the first vision and just kind of like insert, I don't know, show you, like the little words here are what's in the scriptures, and then they just like insert a little summary. So instead of just quoting Joseph Smith history straight out in here, they do a little bit of it, and then they summarize the next little bit, and then they quote some more of it. So this book wasn't really very helpful this morning in my studies. So we'll see how, I've got like one or two other books over there. We'll see how it helps. And then also I've got the Who's Who in the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Joseph Smith section is rather large, but it really only talks about his prophetic mission. And so I don't know if that's going to help either. But anyways, that's what I have for today. And tomorrow I'm going to break down verses 1 through 4, and we'll see how it goes. And that's all I've got for today. And that's Joseph Smith History 1, verses 1 through 26. All right, talk to you later.